Hello? Is anybody there? I need your help. Well, there's nothing you can do now. Goodbye.
Ooh. Blimey. How am I going to start this one? Hello there, my intrusive little thoughts. You remember that little incident in 2019 where a virus fucking raw dogged the planet? Well, big gamer Sony did something surprisingly human for such an out of touch big company and started releasing certain games for free out of the kindness of their bottom line. And that was how I discovered Journey. Yeah, not the game in the title, but Journey. It was not the sort of game that I'd usually play, but it was there, and it was free. And it awakened something in me. A realization that I had been unconsciously, autistically, limiting myself to certain types of games. And I decided then and there, after Journey had blown my fucking mind, to expand my horizons. Literally took us on a journey of discovery. That led me to my big sister. And can we just mention how awkward that name is? We love my big sister. Oh, you remember my big sister? My big sister just got a remake. What? You mean a nose job? More of a facelift. My big sister is a pixelated, story-driven, horror and stressing specifically Vivian the fuck out game developed by Stranga Games that edges you with a confusing, noisy and very exciting story right up until, well, I guess that's for the Storytime section. And I finally get to include a spoiler warning. Woo! I am going to include a content warning here, as well as later, because there is some dark stuff in this cute game, including depression, suicidal ideation, suicide, fuck you YouTube, this is important, child abandonment, child cruelty, and implied sexual assault of minors by an authority figure. And unfortunately, poorly executed in the story, in our opinion. Sorry, Stranga, but it's easily the biggest flaw in the game. All of those triggers may make the game seem super heavy, but I was trying to cover all the bases for those who might get upset. And most of them boil down to depression, absentee parental figure, and that last one, which really upsets me. And sure, it can be a grim game at times. But as someone who has dealt with suicidal ideation for nearly 2 decades, and possibly longer, depending on how you view our sheer relief as a child, once we concluded that an eternity in heaven doesn't exist, sheer fucking relief. It was really nice to see the character of Sombria struggle with these same feelings. It can get a little confusing as to why she feels this way, despite the above trigger warning, as it depends on your reading of events. And it could be read that Sombria just is depressed, just like me. Oh, I'm sure you could put together a solid series of events to explain the cause, but I think a more straightforward reading is that Sombria is just one of many overlooked sufferers of depression without a specific inciting incident. Again, just like me. In hindsight, maybe inciting incident isn't the most accurate term, but I mean without an extended series of explicit abuse, or neglect, or tragedy. My big sister has stressed me the fuck out as I've tried to sort out the story. And I can't personally say that I like how it's executed, and yet I'm aware that this style of execution is something that many other people love. The sheer amount of channels I watch who gush about how much they love this style of storytelling is frustrating to me. But yes, this is something to cover during the story section.
What's this? A new microphone? Yes, I'm now using this microphone. Brand new, still not sure how to use it. So we shall see. So I was able to get an email interview with Stranga Games. And by email interview, I mean the only format which my anxiety allowed me to engage in. But Stranga was great, very patient with me. Despite being really busy, he was willing to answer most of my questions. And given I did state that if there were any spoilers for his other games in my questions, to just skip it. I'm not pushing for any answers he chose to exclude. I want to clarify early on in this video that while I do make a fair few inappropriate jokes about mental health and suicide, that is a coping method for me. I know a lot of people who struggle with suicidal thoughts tend to make these jokes. I do want to make clear though that I'm not trying to make light of people who have taken that step. I don't want to hurt people who've experienced loss for these reasons. It's a way of relating to other people and for them to relate to me who suffer from these things. If somebody was making these jokes and they didn't suffer with these things and they just thought it was funny, or they were actually making fun of people who've struggled, then that would be a whole different thing. But this is a way of connecting. And on a final editor's note, oh man, this is easily my longest video yet. And that's because of the passion I put into it. Some parts will probably sound like I'm unhappy. But believe me, if I were just gonna shit on this game, then this would be a short video. Its length is a sign of how much I enjoyed this game. That's a damn awkward name.
As already mentioned, My Big Sister was conceived and developed by Stranga Games, a one-man dev from Australia, and can be purchased for quite cheap on the PlayStation Store, Steam, itch.io, and probably more. It's an easy game to find and cheap to buy, so just go do it already. Plus, you can buy the original game soundtrack on itch.io, and the remastered is on Spotify, although we'd gladly pay money for that too. Okay, turns out the remastered soundtrack is also on Bandcamp, so you can buy that too. Stranga has a number of other games that I have yet to play, including the recent Ishina the Red Witch, which I am absolutely going to cover once I've cooled off from this video. Just give me a few months, okay? He also remastered My Big Sister, which I assumed would be merely a visual upgrade, but I openly hoped it would do more for the story too. And it fucking did. I was so happy once I started noticing the changes. And I deeply appreciate Stranga for putting in the effort. Clearly, he loves this game. I did try contacting him to get more information for this section, but I mean, I don't know what's going on in his life. He hasn't responded, and that's fine. I have like 5 subscribers as of the time of recording. It's fine. For this video, I played both versions on the PlayStation 5. So here is what I have from Stranga Games himself for the development section. Firstly, for the development section, I'd like to know more about you and the process of developing My Big Sister. I understand not wanting to share too much about yourself online.
I also take steps to protect myself too. But anything you are willing to share about yourself and Stranga Games would be great. A little bit about myself. I try to keep my online presence as private as possible, so it doesn't interfere with my offline life. I work 2 jobs and have a family with a few kids. My schedule is very tight at the moment, but I'm still making games, just very slowly. Jeez, 2 jobs. I struggle with 1. Ugh. Why and how did you start making games? I started making games over 10 years ago as a hobby. I was bored during some adult courses I was taking for work, so I started learning programs like Game Maker during my breaks. At first it was just something fun to do, but after I began uploading my work to the forums and asking for help, I met a developer named Toma, his username. Together we created Mini Thief. It started out as a Pokemon-style Metal Gear Solid clone, but we eventually turned it into a thief simulator type game. We even picked up a publisher which helped boost our player base and sales. Later on, I wanted to branch out on my own, which is when I discovered Adventure Games Studio, an engine for building point-and-click adventure games. I used that engine to make most of my titles. Just ignore them: My Big Sister, Red Bow, and Ashina, plus a few others. My passion for video games comes from wanting to tell a good story, something that grabs you from the beginning and keeps you engaged all the way to the end. I never set out to make horror-themed games, but they naturally became the best fit for the kinds of gripping narratives I wanted to create. Honestly, I think I'd be really interested in playing a Pokemon-style Metal Gear Solid clone. That sounds really interesting. And Adventure Games Studio. I've considered dabbling in game making myself, but the programs I've tried have just gone straight over my head, so I don't see that being particularly likely. And why did you decide to remaster My Big Sister? I'm very happy you did, because it really helps the story to flow better. Recently, I've been remastering and remaking many of my older games. Back then, I didn't have the same knowledge or skills that I have now, and even though I know remakes and remasters can carry a stigma these days, this is how I originally envisioned those games. I understand the stigma towards remakes and remasters, but I feel like that mostly comes from the trend of remaking and remastering games that don't fucking need them. The fact that Stranga has managed to make so many improvements to My Big Sister proves that there is value in remaking games, and it's why I have a list of games. I think all of them are like a decade or 2 old. No, I think they're all like 2 decades old, because sometimes a game can be improved with a remake. Not just a visual upgrade, or in some cases what merely seems like a fucking filter over the top. There's actually benefits to this. And on top of all that, I also understand wanting to return to your work with your new skills and experience. I've actually managed to write an entire book, start to end. And I was looking for a agent. I was looking for an agent to try and get published. But then I realised how much better it would fit into another world I've been building and help me start that as a series. So I'm having to revisit it with new skills, new experience. And I also plan on doing that with my early videos, because they were pretty shit poor. They probably still are. And maybe in like 5 years, if I'm still doing this, I will revisit them in order to just do a better job. What's your favourite part of making games? My favourite part of making video games is the design, the visuals and the music, since I have a background in both fields. It can be challenging to marry a scene with the right soundtrack, but I think I've done a decent job across both of my games. Ashina was the one I had the most fun working on, both in terms of the soundtrack and the visuals. I think Stranga did a fucking fantastic job in visuals and sound, which I will expand on in the visuals and sound section. But hearing that he had a lot of fun working on Ashina Oh, now I can't wait to get to it. I really can't wait to get to it. And what's your least favourite part? My least favourite part of making games is definitely the bug testing phase. I really hate it. It sucks, but it has to be done. And even with help from the community, there are always a few bugs that slip through. Yeah, I stumbled across a couple of those. One of them was fun, but not game-breaking. The other was a bit of a problem. It was with one of the endings, so whether or not that counts as a real soft lock, I don't know. And that's it from Stranga for the development section. But I still have a few of his answers that will show up during the Storytime section, the visuals and sound section, and the trivia section.
This here is my first real test for this channel. See, I want my retrospectives to focus more on story and character than other things like visuals and gameplay. Something I didn't really get to do with my previous videos. But now that I'm actually here, like, how the fuck do I go about this? If I just summarize the plot, I'm not doing anything outside the norm, nor particularly interesting. And to add to that, the remaster really fixes up a number of the flaws of the original, kind of feeling like a second draft, and I'd like to bring up said changes to show the improvement. People will often think a story just comes together from a writer's genius intellect or creativity. But this right here is a great example of how essential multiple drafts are for writing anything. Due to how the story flows and the various endings, I'm gonna go through my personal interpretation, cutting out the noise that I feel just distracts, and through to what I think is the real ending. There are 6 endings though, and I will cover them 2 at the end. Finally, please don't take my frustration as unconstructive criticism, but instead as me passionately worked up about something I enjoy. So, my big sister, Watashi no Onne-san. That is the extent of my Japanese, so enjoy it. This game has a story. It certainly does. But trying to figure it out is giving me actual anxiety. While it is certainly the driving force of the game, given that the gameplay itself is minor, it's not quite what I want from stories. Thankfully, these issues I have only really start showing up towards the end, allowing me to enjoy the game a whole fucking lot up until that point. Journey before destination, Radiant. So let's see if I can figure out a way to tell this story. And again, trigger warning for child abuse and suicide. I'll provide a timestamp to skip the former just before it comes up, but suicide and depression is such an inherent theme for this story that you're just going to have to brace yourselves. This here is Lucia, a 12-year-old girl living on a carrot pumpkin farm with her older big sister and their mother. And this here is Sombria, the titular big sister who's a filthy smoker. So am I, so, you know, no judgment. Oh, yes, and this is also Sombria. And maybe this too? We start off with Lucia waking up in a Chinese market, alone and feeling peckish. All we know is that we need to get Lucia out of here, and that she's not very hopeful about being found by her parents. We toddle off, meet an old woman who we will be referring to as the Noodle Lady for the time being, and we find Sombria, watch as she vanishes before us, and we wake up. Foreshadowing. Waking up in bed, Lucia is alone, as normal. Her mom is still at work as a nurse, which is forcing Sombria to play parent more and more often. which, as we'll learn, has been going on for about a year now. Sombria is having a cheeky fag out. Wait, am I allowed to say that? It's English for cigarette, not a slur. Well, whatever, we've already said it once. YouTube can just suck it up. Sombria is having a cheeky fag out front, and plays caring big sister as Lucia talks to her about the dreams that she's been having. Sombria is clearly familiar with these dreams, and it shows a sweet relationship between the two sisters, where she's happy for Lucia to rely on her, and Lucia is comfortable to tell her big sister about her nightmares. Lucia gets sent back to bed, and that's when the shit hits the fan. The lights go off, and assuming it's a prank, Lucia confidently follows the excessive blood trail to a van outside. And curious? Stupid girl, she climbs in. I'm not really leaning into the tense atmosphere that the game creates, but I really like how determined Lucia is that this is all a joke, right up until it's too late. Now, for the one scene that I don't like. Really don't like. Kinda fucking hate. It's the cause for, in my opinion, the very worst of those content warnings. And annoyingly, it is not treated with the weight it deserves. This is always we had to erase this accidental pun because we take this shit seriously. Tough subject matter. There'll be a timestamp to skip this section if you struggle with the topic of sexual abuse, especially towards a minor by an authority figure. We also struggle with this topic, but we can handle this level of heavy-handed implication. And don't worry, you won't miss much, which is actually the problem. While never outright stated, there is zero doubt that Lucia, and later hinted at Sombria, has been assaulted by her therapist. I can't even properly say my script. I don't like this. That's disgusting. I can't go into all of the many levels of just how fucking wrong this situation is. Abuse of a child by an authority figure who's supposed to be helping her with drugs. Jesus fucking Christ. And you know what the final straw is? He's a shit therapist. The cunt has no idea what he's talking about. Now, I'm not saying that Stranga shouldn't have covered this topic. It's definitely something we need to drag kicking and screaming into the fucking light and hang and draw and fucking quarter in the town square, and to how it's more than just a single sad or easily ignored incident, or God forbid, a minor plot point for shock value. It's fucking not. And as a species, we need to start treating people with some fucking empathy. No, the problem isn't that Stranga chose to cover this subject. The problem is that, well, the entire importance of this scene can be easily skipped with a timestamp, with no loss to the overall plot or character development. I mentioned earlier that we don't know why Sombria suffers from depression. I said it could potentially be read as related to this, but it's also more likely that it's not, and she came to see him in the first place because of said depression. So there is nothing of value in this section except sheer fucking shock value. Is this abuse of a child by an adult who's supposed to be helping them? Well, it boils down. We'd sure like to boil that goddamn therapist to shock value, as I said. And that's disappointing because I don't want to feel this level of empathy and grief for a child, only for it to be no more than how shocking, lol. This shit happens enough in the real world You get to choose between a doll and a brain. Choose the brain for some reason. Welcome back, time skippers. And Sombra will eat the bastard. So that's something at least. Thank God we didn't actually have to see anything. Just some heavy fucking handed implications. Too heavy handed to call implications, but whatever. Lucia exits the room and... What's Noodle Lady doing here? And how does she know that Sombria needs help? Oh, shit. Yes, in all my hate, I forgot to mention why Lucia is even here. It seems that she was the one who found Sombria's body after she hanged herself. This is a theme that gets explored further, and with the weight and respect it deserves. Next chapter, we are returned to the truck to find the sisters plotting their escape, but there isn't anything they can do but let themselves be brought before the big bad boss lady? Brought before the naked lady? That's certainly a power move. And that actually looks like a really nice bath too. Standing at 5'11", there are few tubs that let me take a comfy bath. But this one? With the nice mosaics? Yeah, nice. Anyway, this lady is Ashina, the self-proclaimed Red Witch. She wants to make Sombria a little offer. You see, long ago, Ashina was short, and it really bothered her. So much so that she went to a witch to make a deal. She cut off her own big sister's long, luscious legs as part of it, and was given those long legs. Long legs. Legs for fucking days. Like, I don't know if this was a monkey paw thing, or if she got her sister's legs added to her own, but damn, did she get what she asked for. And so, she's been hiding in the bath ever since. Now, Ashina is fed up of her long, water-wrinkled legs, and wants to swap bodies with Sombria, who looks uncannily like her, in exchange for anything she wants. Riches, power, the bathhouse. And I really don't know what she was expecting, but Sombria refuses. Lucia remains interested, suggesting a pony, but one with really long legs, which suggests that she knows Sombria wants a pony? And that's cute. As is Lucia considering her sister like that. Ashina claims that this is just an offer, that she didn't ask for them to be kidnapped, and that she'll be sure to punish the peon responsible. And as you wait for a lift home, help yourself to the buffet. Is that the Noodle Lady again? What's up with her anyway? She's Ashina's mom? And the witch Ashina went to... Wait. So to grant Ashina's... Hang on. Well, editor's note. There is a chance that we jumped to the wrong conclusion here, but it's clearly the conclusion Stranga wants us to get for now. But, well, we aren't actually sure ourselves. Just wait. This is where things get a little mysterious. The remaster makes lots of small little changes, such as Lucia's presence here going from being an accident to the entire point. And this is a good thing, and a good change. But if you're trying to keep the original in mind, then it gets a little messy. I can't decide if I should stop here for spoilers, or if I should just wait a little teeny bit longer. I think most of the people I watch, Brimbeard, Dungeon Chill and so on, would probably wait a little longer, letting the upcoming event hook you first, but I guess I'll give you the choice. You can skip to the post-spoiler content here, or wait until I provide another spoiler warning. Of course, if you're anything like me, you'll keep watching, because why watch a retrospective if you are bothered by spoilers? Go watch a fucking spoiler-free review or something. Ready? The weirdo's gone? Cool. So, this bit is hard to get my head around. Both parties here are bad people, neither of whom will accept responsibility. Best I understand it, Ashina went to the witch, her mum, asking for longer legs to steal the attention of a man away from her sister. Her mum gave her the means, which was to take her older sister's legs. Noodle Lady, the witch, had her youngest daughter come to her, begging for help, and she either told her to attack her sleeping sister, her own eldest daughter, or, being generous, Noodle Lady didn't expect the sacrifice to be her other daughter, and then put a curse on them all to punish Ashina. It's weird, and the nuances of this will change as we progress. What I like about the remaster is that Ashina is clearly playing the long game here. She wants Lucia around, that's core to her plan. Why she needs to curse Sombria, I'm not sure, but I do have two ideas. One, it's a red herring to trick Noodle Lady so that she doesn't interfere too much, and it works to mislead us. Two, she needed to do this so that she would have the opportunity to do things that we will see later. I guess it's also possible that it's meant to motivate Lucia in a certain way, but you know what? Lucia gets bored and wanders off, meeting Nikuya the Butcher, ha ha, and the lady on the wall, who we will later discover is called Tenna. Not Tanto. Tanto is the dude they were fighting over. Too many names beginning with T. The lady hates Ashina, who is responsible for cutting off her legs and hanging her on the wall like a Van Gogh. But seeing that Lucia needs help, Tenna is willing to help out. I can help you, but I want you to earn it. Bring me what I ask for, or else I'll eat you. Eat me? No way. Then bring me something dangerous. I have a knife? No. Then this flower. Tenna provides Lucia the final key to the puzzle. Quote unquote puzzle. Really just busy work, but honestly, we don't mind as long as it mixes things up a bit. And she heads over to find Sombria lashed to the wall, or floating in the bath in the remaster. Ashina is about to steal our sister's body, and we watch as Sombria undergoes a transformation. In the remaster, this bizarre move is finally made clear in that this is just step one of Ashina's process. Which is cool, because we like magic systems that are scientific with processes. Although the original game just left me wondering why. Whatever, Sombria breaks her restraints through sheer willpower, determined to protect her little sister no matter what. And then she eats Ashina, like a fish, by which we mean that she leaves the head. It's also a play on gutted like a fish, because we're clever. Oh, I forgot to add the spoiler warning here. Skip to the timestamp for to avoid spoilers. I completely forgot to include this. Now deathly pale, with long, ghoulish arms and hopefully glowing yellow eyes, Sombria leads Lucia on an escape into the sewer system where she begins to mope. Okay, that's not fair. Sombria deserves some mope, and it leaves Lucia to puzzle their way back out onto the streets. Now stuck in an unfamiliar town with strange creatures abound. Children! Lucia has to figure out a path forward as her sister hides. Figuring her way past a locked gate to a laundromat? Lucia discovers that Sombria has been cursed. That one kid is really hungry. And the old lady in the laundromat might be able to help. Unlocking the gate and entering the laundromat, we find Noodle Lady. Who'd have thunk it? So yeah, the mysterious Noodle Lady is Yukona Kagami, who is not at all a witch, despite being able to brew a totally not magical potion to cure Sombria using her own daughter's blood. Ashina, the Red Witch's blood. But no, Yukona isn't a witch. Anyway, the not witch tells Sombria that she's dead, that she's become a yokai, a word used here which seems to mean exotic ghost. But maybe we're being a little judgmental, and that they are all residing in the spirit world where time does not pass. Originally, this manifests as the town being full of eternally young children with no knowledge of the concept of parents. Except it may not, because as Yokona claims, Ashina eats the children to stay young. And in the remaster, has this kappa here, amongst other actual yokai. There is a fix for Sombria though, the aforementioned not magic blood potion. To create this, the sisters need to pop back into the bathhouse, not die to Tenna, and bring back Ashina's head. And then all we have to do is get Sombria home within 3 days of taking the potion, and the loop curse will end. And if we fail, then what? This loop will continue. Right? Right? I actually don't know. Wait, loop? Yeah, well, this is where the funky starts in earnest. What we need to know is that there is a curse on Sombria that may have started a time loop. Although those dreams we had earlier could insinuate that the loop has already started. And we break it by getting Sombria home. That's what Yokona tells us. Remember that? Make a note to remind yourself. The next scene is better than the original. The remastered version made me sick. Visually. Like it was the frame rate or something. I couldn't tell because that would mean looking at it and bleh. Otherwise, this scene is really sweet. Our sisters are chilling in the back of a van that is taking them part of the way home, chatting, joking, and realizing that they actually enjoy hanging out with each other. Not much of importance happens except they love each other. The two sisters want to be close, and it upsets both of them that once this is over, they may drift apart or become separated. This is definitely important for later. Sorta important. Well, it depends on the ending we get. Anyway, at the next stop, both girls are really hungry, and Sombria wanders off to find a snack, which she does. Bambi. And hoo boy, Sombria was not exaggerating when she said she was starving. As she chews on Bam's warm, moist corpse, the back of her hair parts to reveal her face. She warns us that an entire deer isn't enough, that she needs some more. Please, Lucia, bring us something more to eat. Please, help Lucia find food. Yes, you behind the screen. As we pilot Lucia through the woods hunting mushrooms, Sombria's VTuber avatar pops up before us, and with the only voice acting in the game, pesters you to hurry up as her appearance begins to fall apart. It's tight, and if you fail, you shall not pass. Okay, that could have been worse. Let's Vivian rest for a second. Yeah, the remaster has a noticeably better jump scare, but the avatar itself might be more conventionally attractive and less scary. Boobs aren't scary. We think boobs might be one of the least scary things out there.
It would be so much easier to take all this very seriously and be scared if she didn't have, size double Z boobs. Boy, she's not scary at all.
Evidence photograph.
An odd spirit. She could barely see over them.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what makes it so scary.
We do think the remaster has a better voice actor too, being far less weeby VTuber. Look at us, we're underage anime girl cute. Ugh. Oh, Vivian's back. There is a fun thing here that I'm not sure matters, but totally could. Sombria speaks to us in either red text in the place of her usual blue, or in the remaster with a blank profile picture. This is not Sombria talking, and I think I know who it is. She, or it, tells Lucia that she shouldn't have left the bathhouse, that she's being tricked. And yet, I can't understand why they would say the former. But now back to her senses, and horrified at not only being able to see her own butt, Head did a 180, remember? We had assumed it was a second face altogether, but who knows? But also at the corpse laying at her feet. She still takes it with her, though. Lucia is largely unfazed by Sombria's The Exorcist moment, and continues to explore the dank, dark forest. Weirdly chill for a 12-year-old, right? Well, we do get to find out more over time. Lucia discovers two people of value to the story-ish in the woods. Little Jacket, a small yokai fellow who wears a little jacket, and Ouija, the noodle-loving spirit of the woods. I'm only including Ouija here because, 1, he already knows Lucia, like in person. 2, he knows Yokona. He knows Yokona. And 3, he knows of the loop. Otherwise, he's fuck all relevant. In fact, going from when we started at the bus stop, I think we meet 9 new characters over the rest of the game, and only 2, including Little Jacket, are important. 3 more could have arguments made for them. Stretch is a cutie, but barely stammers out anything of use. And then there's Verd, who... Yeah, while editing, I decided that she is definitely important, subtly pointing you in the right direction. But by that point, we were pretty fried and missed it all together. Yes, I mentioned a third, but she's actually skippable, and she really just boils down to another knot in an already tangled story. Alright, so after a cute Totoro reference, my big sister Totoro, we catch the bus, and next thing we know, we're on a train. I think this is where things really go from I'm keeping up to I'm no longer keeping up. The sisters are chatting the journey away, talking about how their Aunt Claire had a baby she called Mark, or that she died, and Mark, who's apparently been through a lot, has entered the foster system. But the conversation turns to their own mom, who Lucia admits that she doesn't miss. Their mom only ever gets home after Lucia has already been sent to bed, and then leaves before she gets up. Lucia hasn't seen her mom in a year, and it's become the norm. You say some of the most intelligent things for a 12-year-old. You've never been like this. I don't feel like myself. It's like this has all happened before, and I'm watching it happen to someone else. I'm not me. Do you understand? I do, Lucia. I guess we share the same feelings. It's worth mentioning that this intelligence is pretty jarring, especially later. But in the remaster, Lucia's maturity and childishness are balanced better. Really, Sombria is just commenting on the fact that Lucia isn't acting how she'd expect a child to act, leading to the disassociation chat. But it's weird that they haven't seen anyone else on the train, or the bus for that matter. The sisters split up to explore the train, giving Lucia the opportunity to find some letters written by herself. Letter 1. It's time. Time to end this mess. The loop must be broken. I can't go through all of this again. She has to go. I can't keep protecting her. I'm losing my strength. She is manipulating you. Don't hesitate. Kill her. This could be Sombria too. Tired, protecting her, losing strength. And plus, Sombria obviously isn't manipulating anyone. This could also be Ashina, possibly seeing herself as protecting Tenna, writing to Lucia, and the manipulation kill her bit being about Yokona. Or even Yokona herself trying to get Lucia to kill Sombria. Letter 2. Why did she do it? She risked her own life to save mine. Was mine worth all the trouble? She lost everything because of me. Everything. This could be Lucia lamenting what Sombria became because of her. Not really her fault, but people and shame are often bosom buddies. Or it could be Sombria if you count this journey itself as risking her life. But more importantly, the line about her own life. None of the others are really the type, or they lack the context. Letter 3 is found in a room that Lucia somehow recognizes. Does anybody else get the G and C in recognize mixed up? Or is it just us? he spelled it wrong every single time. If you're reading this, then be prepared for what's about to happen. You're not who you think you are, and neither is she. You were born from a witch, and she was born from a savior. The loop is the only thing that binds you both together. If you break it, you may not see each other again. And this really could be fucking anybody. Well, almost definitely not their mom, I suppose. I'll confess, that last comment letter is the main reason why I assumed they were all written by Lucia's from different loops. But she's the only character I can see having written all of the letters, although there is no reason to suspect only a single writer. I've mentioned possible writers for each letter, but alrighty, so given we're on a train, it's only appropriate to say that things are beginning to go off the rails here, but I will try to keep things straight for you all. And to do that, I'll just ignore these letters. I don't know if it's all irrelevant, or if it's the gay fanfiction problem, where because everybody shares a pronoun, then ambiguity and attempts at nuance just become cryptic. She, her, and so on could mean anything in a cast of mostly women. Naturally, it applies to male-dominant stories too. Now at the front of the train, Lucia meets the driver, Gustav, who is a cheerful change of pace. Gussie confirms that Lucia is the only person on the train, although there are plenty of passengers. Lucia must have just missed them. Gustav warns Lucia that they will soon be approaching the Valley of Sorrows, so she should brace herself. But before that though, could she go check on Stretch for him? He's a little awkward and he hangs out in the luggage compartment, so Gustav hasn't seen him recently and just wants to know that he's okay. And sure, Lucia's going that way to rendezvous with Sombria anyway. Sombria herself hasn't seen Stretch and couldn't explore very far. But she did find a key card, so let's see if Lucia can find where it goes. What is that? What's he supposed to be? If there is one flaw to the pixel art, then it's that I have no idea what Stretch looks like. And I want to see Stretch. What is he? I guess it's enough that he's cute. Turns out, Stretch has been chatting with Yokona. Apparently a lot. And none of it he can repeat to Lucia. Yokona had warned Stretch that something bad would happen to him if he did. Was that a warning, Yokona? Or a threat? Oh hey, our little buddy Little Jacket is stowing away and knows how to use Sombria's keycard, letting us reach the back of the train, proving to us the benefits of socializing with others. The power of friendship. Despite the reunion with her adorable little friend. Although I get the feeling that he may dispute that relationship, Lucia's disassociation begins to peak as she watches the tracks fade from white to black. And it doesn't feel real. Is this really Lucia? Standing here, watching something beautiful and speaking poetically? But sensing her distress, Little Jacket follows her out and offers up a story. I just need to fucking find said story. The story is called Two Birds, One Stone. Once upon a time, there were two sisters that lived in the countryside. They were the best of friends and did everything together. They were so close that they liked and enjoyed the same things. Especially this one man. However, the man only had eyes for one of the sisters, the taller one. Younger sister was so upset by this that she tried everything she could be to be taller. So younger sister got a witch to use magic to make legs longer, just like older sister. Witch said she needed older sister's legs to make a potion. In order for the witch's magic to work, she had to cut off older sister's legs. And she did in her sleep. Younger sister got what she wanted, but was also given a curse. It's at this point that Lucia remembers she's heard this story from Ashina already. And Little Jacket says, "You should remember, Lucia." "Why?" "Because you're the..." And he gets cut off. And it's here where things just get too much for me. First time playing My Big Sister, I mostly stopped being able to take in the important information from here on in. Sure, that's probably due to my particular brand of neurodivergence. but it was just too many vague and contradictory data points right up until the very end. I'll try to make it clear, and like I've been doing up till now, I'll be cutting out anything that doesn't help or add texture to the story. Because despite what people say, a good story doesn't have to jump from plot point to plot point. It doesn't always have to be moving. Everything somebody says does not have to be related to the plot. We personally can't read anything that does that because we need the flavor and texture of characters and world building to get invested. Sorry, James Patterson, but we just couldn't read 21st Birthday. This story is about Ashina and Tenna. We've heard it from Ashina herself and seen the results of her actions and the curse. Ashina, who said that Yokona, her own mother, gave her the curse. So as already mentioned, Yokona at best told Ashina to cut off the legs she wanted, not realizing they would be her other daughters. Or she knew full well, and maybe wanted to encourage their feud, or wanted to put them under a curse. I still don't know her motivations, and yet, Little Jacket is clearly implying that the true Red Witch, Yokona, is Lucia. And this won't be the last time Lucia is accused of being the Red Witch. So, Lucia will grow up to be a witch with two daughters, letting one sacrifice the other for some dude whose name we hear like twice, and then tortures them both in an infinite loop. Our Lucia? And then Ashina will attempt to steal her own aunt's younger body, dragging in young Lucia by accident, maybe depending on the version you're playing, dragging her aunt and her mother's past selves through time and into a loop that's been going on with Lucia for who knows how long? I'm sorry, what the fuck? And this isn't over. This isn't everything the game has to say. There's yet more to contradict this version of events. Well, at least this little bastard can't confuse me any further, because Tenna frickin' catches up on her hands to the train and gobbles the little bastard up. Tenna states plain and simple that she wants to murder Sombria as a stand-in for her own sister, and then she wants Yokona. Wait, does Tenna not know that Lucia is her past mother? We think. I mean, there's a line that could maybe be read that way, but she's also super chill with Lucia, so I guess not. Wait, a hoot picking toot. Sorry, I just really wanted to say that. What the fuck, Lucia? What does that even mean? We see Yokona being nice and ambiguous again, although she is very clear about her priorities, so I suppose that's an improvement. Maybe if she were able to communicate at least that much before, she wouldn't have lost her daughters. We stumble upon Stretch, who's been dismembered by that woman who's after you, so not Tenna, who just let us go and is clearly not after us. Or was she after the Red Witch and he misunderstood? Or was it Sombria who attacked him, mad with hunger again? Or the only other woman he's mentioned, Yokona? This is a little too much. So it was a threat. You bitch! So Lucia follows Sombria's trail to a hidden entertainment room, which consists of a few rows of seats and looking at they're watching a bath, okay? The entertainment is watching someone take a goddamn bath. Well, it's original at least. Sitting there, chatting away while somebody takes a bath in front of you. Oh, I have no doubt that someone thinks that this is a perfectly acceptable way to while away a train journey. Just make sure you get seats in a splash zone. She might be a gamer girl. At present, it's Sombria upon stage, and I'm suddenly uncomfortably aware of the fact that I don't know how old she is. I think there's reason enough to assume that this isn't inappropriate. And good news, Ashina pops out the water, and she is definitely old enough to not make this uncomfortable. Plus she has legs for days, and that's definitely going to appeal to someone. I don't know what she's so upset about, really. She'd have short kings lining up before her. Oh, okay, no, I get it. Step on me, ancient mummy, and all that shit. Okay, fair. But Ashina is behaving more openly this time around, clearly on edge as her plans unravel. She starts off by assuring that Sombria is fine. This was her only option to free herself and Tenna. But the only advice on breaking the loop she gives is to break the fucking loop. Yes, at the moment us sisters are heading back towards the beginning, but so what? You want us to not go home? We just live on this train, bathing to make a living? Come on, love, you've been at this for centuries, and your only move is to kidnap us and then say nothing? Really? Lucia shares our doubts because, duh, who fucking wouldn't? And we really have no reason to trust Ashina over Yokona. At least from Lucia's perspective, who has no idea about Ashina and Yokona's conversation previously. One of them kidnapped, mutilated, and now possessed us, while the other has been a little sketchy, but she's an old woman, so that's a bloody given. Ashina doesn't help her case by staying calm. Instead, she throws a tantrum. She does quickly realise her mistake and resorts to grovelling. She knows about our dreams, the marketplace and therapist. Why though? Well, that depends on the version. Originally, Sombria had them too, presumably from her side or her perspective, although we only just considered that, previously assuming that she had been in our position within the memories, making them pure fiction rather than memories. But maybe not? But now it's because Lucia and Ashina have some sort of a bond that Lucia can't remember. If only you could remember. Either way, that just turns those events into... Jesus, so many possible options. Just dreams? Inherited memories? Alternate timelines? Yes, I do have a tendency to overthink. Thank you. Scott, our lad, you remember Obito. What's more, Sombria was really easy to pull in. Almost like they were already connected. One soul in two bodies. Or maybe like you kidnapped her. Wait just a hoot-pecking toot. Are you connected to Lucia or Sombria, Ashina? And just another bloody goddamn thing to make things more complicated. Ashina warns that if Lucia ever lets Sombria go, she'll end up just like Tenna. Whatever the fuck that means. Legless? According to the official art, but not the pixel art. She already is. Hungry? Yeah, ask Bambi. Murderous? As good a guess as any. And naturally, Tenna shows up right fucking now to cast even more doubt upon everything. Tenna, presumably while hanging legless in Ashina's basement, has been chatting with Yokona. I say that name differently every time. Yokona, who told her everything. Sombria was pulled into this because the curse needs to give birth to a new loop, presumably freeing the previous victims at the cost of new ones. This is neither confirmed nor denied in the entire game. Although Ashina seems genuinely apologetic to Tenna, seriously desperate to free them both, although it could have been a nice touch if it was all about freeing Tenna, Ashina being willing to submit herself to the curse for eternity in regret for her actions. It's not necessary. It might not even be in character, so don't have to do it. But it could have been sweet. Tenna herself doesn't give a damn about apologies or freedom, which we've got to say is kind of an awesome character type. Unstoppable and uncaring. But she also has no interest in Sombria now that her sister is before her. So we're free to leave with one last word from Ashina. Keep Sombria safe. The answers are on this train if you want to find them. I didn't find them. But at least Lucia and Sombria are together again, and we can... What? What? Is Mom dead? Are we adopted? That depends on both the versions and the ending we get. What are you talking about, Sombria? And why now? But our man Gustav comes to the rescue. It turns out we're travelling through the Valley of Sorrows he warned us about previously, and it's making us see our fears pushed up to 12. What do you see, Gustav? Oh, nobody's asked me that before. I see taking an icy corner too fast and crashing the train. I see myself alive. Alone. Funny thing, Gustav. I remember being on that train when it crashed. But I also remember misty woods and a cabin. Ash? Well, that's it for the train. We learned absolutely nothing here. At least nothing that can be trusted with that goddamn Valley of Sorrows starting at some point. And nothing that might lead into the prequel Ishino the Red Witch, currently £7.85 on Itch.io, and driving me mad with curiosity. So, I haven't brought up the black screens between chapters because, well, they're yet another thing to drive me through the hoot-picking toot. We have no idea what that phrase means, but we love it so much. Context clues have convinced me that they are Sombria's thoughts, specifically this one and the next. This is what she fears the most. A hospital. Lucia, unconscious in a... Oh god, no. Lucia's in a fucking coma. Is this real? She dies here, but this is a Tunnel of Sorrows fever dream, so whatever, but is Lucia in a coma? This... Oh god, lord, shit. This is where the story, and given it's a story-based game, the game as a whole begins to lose its luster. But let's go into the deep. Into a grotty subway station. Okay, makes sense. This place is shoddy, falling apart, vandalised. Did my screen just turn off? Nope, no, this is Sombria's depressing home away from home. Not, my home. Looks like a good place to cry. Just looking at it makes you want to. The station, not my home. Shut up. Sombria retreats inside again, unwilling or unable to talk about things or really do much at all. So it's once again left to Lucia to explore, to find the exit and to give chocolates to some weird fella living in the lift shaft. And we stumble across a ghost with easily the coolest appellation in the game. Virginia. So cool it took me 3 attempts to get it right. But it's wasted on a child who'd rather go by Verd. No, it's fine. Not a bad name at all, actually, but it's no Virginia. It's no Virginia. Oh lord, my mind's wandering. Okay, let's get back to this. Virginia fucking hates Lucia, who... Holy shit, Lucia is the Red Witch? Who told you that, Virginia? Virginia is a ghost who can't pass on while she's also trapped in the loop. Unable to pass on while Sombria lives. She likes Sombria, and knows that she comes here to cry when she's feeling sad. But while Sombria lives, Virginia... well, she kinda lives? She's stuck. And it's all Lucia's fault, because she can't accept that Sombria hanged herself. Lucia is forced to retreat, overwhelmed by all of these revelations and the sheer vitriol, and like many young kids, she runs straight to her big sister, who's taking a shit. Kidding. I assume this is Sombria's preferred place to cry. Dark, enclosed, and safe. I get that. Now, I don't know if this is Lucia realizing or internalizing what Virginia told her. There is a difference in meaning, and it changes a lot. And Lucia confesses to Sombria that she created the loop. Scared that Sombria would actually finally do it. And Sombria is pissed. Not just at Lucia for putting them through all of this, but from being forced to admit out loud that she'd never do it. She always chickens out. That isn't a nice thing to confront about yourself. That exit that was always there, the retreat, well, once you admit that you are unable to take it, then it's gone. And that is genuinely scary. Sombria's story resonates with me personally in ways that YouTube hates, but fuck them because this is important. Sometimes just dreaming about having a way out gives you the strength to go on. It's a support blanket of sorts. And you know what sucks as well? When you are finally able to say that you would never do it and not feel too terrible about it, you still have to keep it to yourself because no one trusts you anymore. I'm not going to go further. That's not what this video is about. But I feel Sombria's pain. And if, like me, her depression really was a gradual development without an explicit cause or series of events, it really is like looking into a mirror. Except the bitch has bigger hands than me. Our boobs might be about the same though. Back on track, that's not enough for Lucia. One day she might not chicken out, and Lucia will be alone. That fear is what enables her to empathize with her sister, because without her, she has no one. Her mother is never home, and it doesn't look like Lucia has any friends, unable to go out on her own, likely due to her age, and maybe living out in the middle of nowhere. Her relationship with her sister is her everything. And you know those dreams at the marketplace, where she's alone, maybe unsafe, with no one to come find her? Those could be expressions of anxiety because she's never actually been out alone before. Sombria, ever the kind and protective big sister, understands. She sends Lucia off with a doll she found, but she herself won't leave yet because therapist is starting to weigh heavy in her bowels. It's time to get rid of him for good. Lucia, apparently using her magical red witch senses, aka the player's understanding of how video games work, returns the doll to Virginia. Molly! I lost her in the station. I was looking for her when a train came. Bird, I'm going to end this loop. Really? And I won't lose Zombie. Then you'll trap us here. I won't lose Zombie, Bird. The noodle lady never said you'd be so nice. What? This is the first time Yokona has been truly anything other than odd or frustrating towards us. Now we find out she's been spreading what? Rumors? Lies? Truths? Either way, it finally feels like she's working against us, and not just her daughters. What was that laugh? Whatever it was unnerves Virginia. So like a good little gamer, we go looking for trouble. And if this wasn't a pixel game, then by God, I'd be in trouble with YouTube. And I probably couldn't or wouldn't argue the point. For us stands a naked Lucia. But she isn't quite right with those dark eyes and that grim mouth. Who are you? I'm Lucia, and you're just a cranky old lady. What? And a life or death game begins. A conflict of epic proportions. Screw it, we're playing truth or dare with ourselves. Things start off small with truth, but Lucia one-ups Lucia with a dare. And it works. Lucia is flummoxed by Lucia's unexpected actions, and I don't really know how to write this section, but resorting to sports narration doesn't work because I don't watch sports. Let's keep this simple. We had dared to kill this new Lucia, but that upsets our Lucia enough that she screams at her to do it herself. This gives the new Lucia pause before changing her choice to truth, and then truth again, completely ignoring our turns because we've both had enough turns at this game. How do we end the loop? Kill the Red Witch. Who is the Red Witch? Lucia. There. Kill me. Please. for Zombie. Actually, this seems like a solid plan, especially if this is true. So why isn't this an ending? Why? I make Zombie suffer. Ever since I was little, I just got in her way. I don't deserve someone like her. Go home. Huh? Just go. Now. Self-sacrifice. Your mother was pathetic in giving you my name. I did what was possible to keep my daughters safe, but you're not going to take them away from me. Okay, so that was the original. The remake changes that last monologue. Self-sacrifice. A debt repaid. Don't mess this up, Lucia. A lot of lives are at stake. So let's try and clear things up a bit. What is the Lucia Yokona Red Witch deal? My best guess is that despite everything else the game tries to say, the Red Witch isn't a person but an inherited power, possibly passed through the Lucia name, and likely manifested here as Naked Lucia. This was a test, checking on what this latest incarnation would do with the power, or maybe giving her a push to break the loop that she accidentally made with said power. Everything else I could say is conjecture. Ha! As if this wasn't also conjecture. We don't know anything about Lucia's mother, why she chose the name, or if the adoption point is real. Which mother? Oh god. Oh god, no, please. Has anyone else heard those tales where someone discovers their sister is actually their mum? How old it... I feel sick. So let's go home! And suddenly, Lucia is acting like a petulant child, obviously hurting Sombria with her mean words, who retreats to her room, where she will stay until the loop is broken or restarted. This is the second out of 3 times that my deep fondness for this game is challenged. I want to make clear that the game still has me gripped at this point, but also overwhelmed, and Lucia's personality shift here gives me serious whiplash. Thank God this is improved in the remaster, where Lucia retains more of her childish nature throughout the game, and is marginally less awful once we return home. But if I may parrot a critique aimed at my own writing a number of times, this feels forced. Yeah, I get it. Sometimes you want something to happen in your story, but can't quite do it naturally. Believe me, those moments suck to write. So if I can offer some more of my own experience, cut it out. Snip it out of the story. Lucia doesn't need to push Sombria deeper. Both sisters are already exhausted, and somebody with depression and suicidal ideation will already be way past their limit and desperate to retreat. Lucia doesn't need to push it any further. Now you could also write this final blow a little differently. Instead of bickering, the tired Lucia could make an insensitive joke, so relieved to finally be home that she just says something stupid. Even more exhausted, Sombria would take it hard and might even retaliate, putting resentment and grief onto both characters, informing Sombria's possible action later, and Lucia's muttering as she wanders the house. I don't mean to linger on this, but it's the best way for me to express my feelings, to emphasize how immersion breaking, how shocking Lucia's sudden change was after everything we had explored in the train station. I turn my thoughts into stories, and that's how I express myself. Please take it as that, and not some breakdown of how everybody else's writing sucks and that you're an idiot. It's not. It's my method of self-expression, because I'm super fucking awkward in every fucking way. If what I was saying about Lucia being alone is true, the isolation, the lack of friends, the stuck with family, then I strongly relate to her too. And believe me, we've been seeing the best of Lucia. If she developed anything like me, she would have not been nearly so competent. Moving on, it's from here that we can work towards different endings. There are 6 in total, 3 of which are bad. but I'll get into them later. For now, I will follow what seems the most intuitive good ending. Stepping inside the house, guess who is waiting for Lucia? The fucking noodle lady herself, Yokona Kagami. She's just chilling in somebody else's house like an RPG protagonist, goading Lucia into... Yokona clearly wants Lucia to make Sombria feel worse, pushing her to confront her sister with bitterness. Doing this, picking the lock to Sombria's room and stepping inside, reveals that Yokona's goading wasn't necessary at all. The loop starts anew, and we finally have a clear answer. Sombria must survive. Starting again, and relying on Schrodinger's Sombria, dead and alive until observed, we have to find the true solution. Despite it seeming right given Lucia's sudden personality shift, we don't actually want to confront Sombria yet. Instead, we explore the house for options and... Why is the basement door in the bathroom? Creepy. Is that normal? I've never had a basement. But we did find a screwdriver at the beginning of the game, so popping upstairs to grab it and giving Sombria's room a wide berth, Lucia unscrews the basement's entrance and... The fuck is that? That's Mom? Mom is hung up in our basement, looking all monsterfied because... Well, only the original game knows, but we're focusing on the remaster for now. Mom confirms that Lucia and Sombria were adopted, left on her doorstep when they were young. She tells Lucia to look after her sister before passing away in her youngest daughter's arms. She left behind a clue, and so, determined, Lucia grabs a shovel and whacks... Sorry, I'm not good with emotional vulnerability. Lucia uses the shovel to dig where her mom's map shows her to and finds a knife gifted to her by Nikuya, and she approaches Yokona. Truth or dare? What? Truth or dare? Truth. Why did you do it? You lied to your daughters, told them that everything was going to be okay, but it wasn't. You took them away from me, because you're a good-for-nothing witch. Truth or dare? Enough games, truth or dare? Truth. Do you still blame me for your daughters? Yes. Then why didn't you stop them? They asked you for help, and what did you tell them? I told them to ignore that man. He was nothing but trouble. I don't care if they both liked him. You didn't have to take their lives away. I didn't. You did. You told them that they were foolish, that men only use them to get what they want. You lied to them. You forced them to stay home, to cook, and to clean, while you courted the very man they liked. That's not true. How dare... Truth or dare? Enough! Time is up, Lucia. Truth or dare? Dare! What are you going to do about that? I dare you. What? To die. For all the lives you have ruined, may you find peace, old hag. So, that didn't really clear much up. Yokona was awful. At best, she was scared for her daughters, didn't want them to leave her, but Ashina went to the Red Witch. At worst, she was controlling, manipulative, and cruel. She was the Red Witch, and manipulated Ashina in order to start the loop to keep them unable to leave her. Question is, who is the Red Witch? Am I right and it's an inherited power, and with it an inherited responsibility to break the loop? Kill the Red Witch to break the loop. If the other Lucia was correct, then Yokona was the Red Witch, who encouraged Ashina to do those horrible things. Then where does Lucia come into it? Are there 2, maybe 3 Red Witches? Is Lucia just an innocent bystander who got dragged into this? Or is she really a younger Yokona, which is why the woman is deflecting blame for her actions onto her? Time to open the box, and thank God Sombria isn't playing at being a ceiling ornament. The sisters are tired, and there seems to be some miscommunication between them. Sombria expects Lucia is there to finish her off, but Lucia just wants to say goodnight and go to bed. My very best guess is that Sombria believes herself to be the Red Witch, and who needs to be killed by Lucia. And in the original, she probably is the Red Witch. But Lucia's sleepy and won't do it. But once Lucia leaves, Sombria is visited by the spirit of the Red Witch. Every time we think we have a grasp on this goddamn story, something new pops up. And not just new, but contradictory. Is our memory just that bad? Are we not putting things together because we just forgot important information? Well, given how dyspraxia works, my brain's actually misplacing said information. Would it make sense to us if our brain could hold and use information like a normal person? It's time for Lucia to wake up. She did it. Who the fuck is Ro? What? Ah! The loop has been broken. You should be free of this curse too. Lucia still needs to wake up. Can you save her, Sombria? Like how? By getting a fucking medical degree? The fuck? Ooh, I need a break. Let's discuss another change. In case you haven't noticed yet, or just don't want to accept it, Lucia really is in a coma. It was all a dream. Fuck. Okay, now, so, we don't inherently hate dream or coma endings. We'll soon be playing a game that does it well. But it has to have some impact on the characters. But how did Lucia get there? What happened to put her in the hospital? Well, in both versions, Sombria wanted to prove that she could be responsible. Originally by driving them both to see her mum, but crashed around an icy corner. Remember Gustav? But what happened in the remaster? I don't know. Editor's note. Thanks to Stranga's kind interview, we actually have an update on this. So we will provide that at the end of this Storytime section. I don't fucking know. Lucia went to the kitchen for some milk and somehow ended up in a 3-month-long coma that may have slipped her into the spiritual realm. From milk? A home invader? The fucking therapist? What? Whatever. Everything's okay now. We get to see that the people we met in the dream are all hanging out in the hospital. Nikuya is Nick, a petty crook with a conscience. Yokana is sharing a room with Lucia and is super whiny. And Ouija is a statue in the hospital reception area. Keep Virginia away from that therapist. You don't want to end a game or a story on an otherwise happy note, knowing that a child is visiting that therapist. After finding out that the doctors had had a mishap and Lucia is not in fact disabled, we head out to get waffles, where we briefly meet Ash and Tenna, presumably travelling to visit Yokana. Tenna needs a massive piss though, so Ash stops to chat with our sisters. She compliments them on their hair, and on the way out, she thanks Lucia. What was that? Oh, goddammit, whatever. The fact is, I find this entire section just really sweet. We've got our sisters just happy, spending time together, glad to be in each other's company. And then we get to see the two troublemaker sisters just getting to be people. And Ash's thank you at the end kind of suggests that the idea of the spirit world has a bit more weight to it. And so it's really nice to see, again, them just getting to be normal girls. Tenna drinking too much and being really crass in an endearing way. Ash trying to cover for her. It's actually really kind of touching. Now at Sombria's real secret place, that's actually really nice and not at all like my apartment, the grotty subway. The sisters chat and they're getting along and it's really sweet. Yes, turns out they are adopted, but that's fine because they love their little family. Sombria broke up with her whiny boyfriend, but that's fine because Stretch is cute and has been visiting the hospital vending machine purely as an excuse to see her. And that's that. And by that, I mean kind of nothing. That's the problem with dream endings. They don't actually wrap anything up. They don't achieve anything. They don't conclude and don't really give people anything to imagine an ending without cutting slices out of the game. There is a hint of a spiritual world. What do we do with that hint? I'm desperately hoping that the prequel will lean into the spiritual world to give weight to this story in post. I have never been so conflicted about something I've enjoyed so much. I bought a mug, just to remind us of this masochistic delight, and I'm endlessly glad to have experienced it. Thank you, Stranga Games. But please don't do this to us again. You'll have the chance for sure, but please don't. But I'm not done yet! There are 6 endings in total, and they are mostly the same between versions. 1. Once you return home, go straight to bed. It'll take a few tries, but eventually Lucia will give in to the exhaustion, and presumably the loop continues. 2. If you pick the lock to Sombria's door, you'll get the bad ending. I won't go into details. 3. So I lied a little bit. In order to get the real ending, you need to be a little bit meta. See, those black screen messages between chapters are clearly from Sombria. And who has been tagging along with Sombria? Yep, in the final black screen, someone talking in red text joins in, talking to us, the player, and telling us the truth lies in the reflection of my name. This is an essential step in getting the real ending. But the rest happens as I said. 4. Do what I actually explain without the mirror, and you instead get this ending without the hospital section. It's morning, Lucia is chomping away on cereal, and Sombria is back to normal. She takes Lucia out for waffles. We don't meet Ash or Tenor, but Lucia is aware of us behind the screen. So the loop is broken, but we're still in the coma? Did we escape the curse, leaving Ashina and Tenor behind? Plus, Mom's just straight up dead, leaving Sombria to get a job to look after Lucia. She's been talking to the owner of a Chinese restaurant about a job, talking to a guy called Panto. That's the name of the guy that Ashina, Tenor, and Yokona were fighting over, right? Ugh. Okay, so ending 1 was a secret novelty ending, and these 2 might be also, but with some crazy implications. 5. Before killing Yokona, take the knife back into the basement and cut out Mom's heart. Seriously. The rest plays out as normal, but post-credits we get a new scene where Sombria goes down into the basement and finds her dead mom, who's not dead. By cutting out her heart, we somehow prevented her from dying, but she's no longer stable. And neither is Lucia, who locks the basement door, and we focus on Mom's face as something changes, and she turns to look at her eldest daughter in a way that no mother ever should. The fuck? The fuck? 6. In the hospital, before Lucia wakes up, you get the chance to lead Sombria around, talking to patients on her way to step out for a smoke break. Do this by the no smoking sign, and when you return, everybody's dead. Everybody's dead, Dave. Everybody's dead. Blood is everywhere. People have been mutilated. We hurry back to the sleeping Lucia, who's looking peaceful among the gore. Old Yokona is gone, but we can hear cries for help from the cupboard. Lucia opens her eyes. Once again, what the fuck? And you know the worst thing about these endings? They give the coma plot some actual weight, suggesting that not only is the spiritual world real and the events that happened inside, but that something came with us. Tenor, maybe? And now she's in control. And that is more or less it.
I just need to quickly apologise for some upcoming janky editing, because I realised in my conclusion I kind of used a few spoilers, so I've had to awkwardly edit them out and replace them with something more vague. So Sorry.
While writing this, I mixed and matched what I liked between versions, as I didn't like all of the changes made, such as the milk. What even was that? But I'm not going into that, because I like what little of my sanity I have left. It's this little bit here. It tries so hard that we want to keep it. Just a little bit longer, please. The remastered story is a huge step up, but I do have to say that it still only feels like a second draft and could probably do with a third.
I also think Sombria should have been the one in the spirit world.
She's the one character who has some actual development, but it's all made redundant
By focusing on Lucia.
Lucia, well, she does change, but not in a development way. You remember how she sometimes acts too mature, and then suddenly gets all preteen petulant on us? Well, in the original story, that maturity comes from her dying mother's spirit latching onto her, and then disappears as her life begins to fade. Doesn't that make Mom the one living the no, fuck it, we're done with this. Lucia herself doesn't actually grow or mature. It's all outside influences.
Lucia, from a story perspective, has no reason to be in the spirit world.
So give that to the troubled Sombria. Let her find the strength to keep living, to not let the guilt over the car crash push her over the edge. She doesn't keep living out of servitude, familial obligation, or guilt over leaving people behind, but because she wants to be with her family. Sombria wants to watch over this little sister she loves, to watch her grow. Let Sombria learn to live for love, even though she will never be able to love to live. As it reads at the moment, Lucia vastly overestimates Sombria's depression. Although, that could be a valid story too, one well worth exploring. My big sister may have fallen off towards the end, making me twist my fucking hair out. But that disappointment comes solely from the fact that I love the rest of it so much. In fact, the rest of this script will be my outpouring of love for the game, so let me have this. I get that people like stories that require you to piece things together yourself, or sometimes are so open-ended that you actually need to finish it off yourself. But honestly, fuck that. What are you actually doing if you refuse to finish the story yourself? Stranga didn't do this, but we honestly have no respect for those that do. It's not a mystery if it's incomplete. It's not a story. There's no development if it's incomplete. It's just narrating a random event. But I personally, autistically maybe, like there to be a solid story throughout. I'll admit, when I started writing this, I felt that Stranga did leave it incomplete, and I was conflicted. But now that I've dove into the game multiple times to double and triple check, and gone grey with stress while writing this, I now see the story. You might even be able to hear that progress in this section, as I decided not to edit it too much before recording because I think it's a journey worth sharing. But this was too much effort. Most people don't have the time or inclination to do what I have here, and given the coma ending, it might have been totally pointless. Was there a reason to go this deep? Well, I enjoyed it, but I don't think that I'll have a true answer until I've played the prequel.
Alright, so here are some questions I asked Stranga for the Storytime section. Firstly, what exactly is the story to My Big Sister in your mind? I personally had some difficulties understanding it, and while I've managed to get it across in a clear way, I'd like to know what you intended. The original My Big Sister, before I changed the story in the remaster, was very different and a lot darker, because a major event happened in my life while I was making it. It was originally meant to be a story about witches and monsters. Sombria was going to be a witch, and the goal was to uncover the truth. But halfway through development, my cousin died by suicide. He was a twin and only 18 years old. It shocked our whole family, including me. After that, I decided the game should focus more on siblings, mental health, depression, and suicide awareness. I'm glad I changed it, because it helped me come to terms with his death, and I hope it helps others realize that we can and should reach out to the people who need help, even when they don't ask for it. For anyone interested in the story, I really recommend playing the remaster, Ashina and Red Bow/Strange Dream, when it becomes available. All of these games are connected, and together they strengthen the overall story of My Big Sister. Ooh, not exactly what I asked, but I also asked to avoid spoilers, so I'm happy with this. So I've got to play Ashina, Red Bow/Strange Dream. I started Red Bow like a long time ago, but I got distracted and never got around to finishing it, so I'm looking forward to covering that on my channel. This is some heavy stuff. Suddenly, I really hope I haven't made light of suicide too much, because I've mentioned my own suicidal ideation, and how humour is a way I handle it, but I'd hate to have upset Stranga in some way by being too callous or flippant about the subject. It's very different using humour to deal with these feelings compared to having people make jokes about a lost family member or friend. Very different. None of this humour is targeted at anyone. I want to make that clear. Any jokes I've made have been entirely copium on my behalf. What is the player in the canon of the game? Do Ashina and now Lucia understand that they are in a game? Or is the player some sort of unknowable deity? I like adding fourth wall breaks in my games purely for fun. They're there for entertainment and to give players a little something extra to enjoy. Cool, so I'm overthinking it. As always. I kind of want to ask about the various endings too, but I'll stick to the important one. In the remaster, all we seem to learn about Lucia's coma is that she went into the kitchen for some milk. How did that lead to the coma, and why did you change it from a car crash? The reason I changed the ending was purely because of the guilt I felt while writing it. The car crash narrative was the way my cousin passed, and it didn't feel appropriate to include it in the remaster. I left it in the original, but it was difficult to think about while creating the new version. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. There is a lot of confusion around the milk coma thing, but I also get that, given these new associations, it's a particularly difficult thing to cover. And that is it for the Storytime section. See you again in visuals and sound.
This section is going to be short, as there isn't actually a whole lot to cover. It's a beautiful kind of simplicity, though. I will always argue that games should be gameplay first. It's in the fucking name. Or else, just watch a movie or read a book. Gameplay doesn't have to be complicated though, and merely interacting with the story can be enough. In My Big Sister, what an uncomfortable sentence that is. There is no combat, no RPG elements, and the puzzles are simple. Stranga wants us to use our control over Lucia to explore, and this control helps us invest in her as a person. It goes from watching her story to becoming our story. I'm not a 12-year-old girl, despite how it may seem at times, but I can still feel and then project my own confusion, anxiety, and excitement onto Lucia, creating an empathetic bond with the character. All of that stress, confusion, and frustration I displayed in the previous section, Lucia felt that too. That shared experience, the investment of emotional energy, bonded us, and is likely why the game has stuck with me and why I put an unusual amount of energy into it. There is gameplay outside of this though, picking up and using items in the correct place for one. It's simple, but it helps with engagement. There is one annoying thing about that though. Normally, you use items from your inventory which also provides us with a nice bit of flavor text. But one puzzle in the sewers requires us to interact with an object in the world instead in order to use the items in our inventory. This is probably because it involves combining 3 items, which isn't actually a mechanic in the game, requiring an outside trigger, in this case the object, once we've collected the items. But it's a little confusing to have a sudden switch around in such a basic mechanic. Another section that's kind of cool, and that I'd say got fixed in the remaster, is Ashina's little riddle: the real ending lies in the reflection of my name. Well, clearly, that means you have to use the bathroom mirror and write her name in reverse to break the 4th wall, right? Except, originally no. You just had to input her name normally, Ashina. That threw me off so bad that I actually had to come back to it after I had an epiphany. But the remaster fixes this so that you do have to write it in reverse. Anihsa. It's reflected. It makes sense. Playing them both back to back made this change obvious and extremely satisfying to see that Stranga had fixed what must have been just an oversight. It happens. The most horror gameplay comes from Tenna, the lady on the wall. Get her riddle wrong and she'll gobble you up. We also have a clear memory of leaving her room after that first time and immediately returning, only for Tenna to chase us down and kill us. But we couldn't replicate it this time around. And it was our favourite moment too, because this death happened as a result of our actions in ignoring her warning. It was really cool. Don't know if we're misremembering it or it got changed. In the remastered version, when we return to the bathhouse, Tenna will be randomly chilling in different rooms and will have to run back out the door before she catches us. It's a small thing, but that really helps build up the tension, especially when you need to enter a room with an item but she's just in there clipping her nails or something. I really wish that this section was longer and that there were more rooms and a puzzle or two so that I could really relish the shift up in tension. This return to the bathhouse does have one major missed opportunity in my opinion, expanding on what I've just said. In the game, we stumble upon Sombra in the sauna room, already prepped with a plan to trap Tenna. But we have no idea how she figured this out, or even how she learned that Tenna exists. The only other person in the building can't even speak at the moment. So Sombra shouldn't have any idea about her, let alone the occult process required to capture her. And why couldn't that have been us? Unable to progress because of this sheer threat of Tenna, we could have found a text, or freed and gotten advice from Nikuya, in order to set the trap ourselves, all while avoiding the increasingly erratic and very lethal creature that we released from captivity. I'm no stranger to missed opportunities, and maybe Stranga thought it would disrupt the pacing of the game. But I personally think it would have been worth it, especially if there was a way to speedrun it for later playthroughs. And that is pretty much it for gameplay, and I do not mind at all. Right here might be the number one reason for the sheer charm of my big sister. Again, so awkward. Thank God we don't actually have a sister, or else this would be too uncomfortable. Starting with the soundtrack, it's fucking fantastic. And better yet, it was redone for the remaster, so we have twice as much music to enjoy. The original main theme is slow, and while not especially ominous or spooky, there's a definite melancholy that hints at both. And while the song slowly builds over 1.5 minutes, it will begin to swell with emotion. The remastered main theme shares the melody, but is faster and more openly ominous. About 20 seconds in, it introduces an instrument that, while I don't think it is a theremin, is certainly being played to sound like one. It's great. It's spooky. And it's really pretty in the way only spooky music can be. There are a few more traditionally horror-sounding tracks, like There's Something Down There, or My Big Yokai. But then there's the track titled Strolling in the Sewers, which is just really nice and chill. To match the Japanese themes in the game, we have songs that use traditional instruments. We can't really name these instruments though. Sorry, we just don't have the knowledge. And Of Blood and Water might be my favourite of those for the contrast of what I feel is a cheerful tune being played maybe not off-key, but certainly not in the right key. All with what I think is a shamisen playing a regular rhythm in the background. But my favourite tracks are actually uplifting. A Long Ride Home gives me, of all things, romance vibes? I think we all know that moment in your standard romance movie where the male character has just given her up and she's leaving, possibly on a plane. Please note that all of the following is merely our opinion and overactive imagination. But it's during this track that he realizes his mistake and resolves himself to get the girl, and now he's desperately chasing after her to perform some silly act of love. Sure, the song is actually played during the sisters' bonding moment, but what's actually happening isn't the point. What's important is the uplifting revelation and renewed focus that can, and often does, appear in any and all media. And this song captures that feeling. The remastered version of this track is It's a Long Way Home, and gives me more of an action movie vibe. Still with the same uplift and focus, but a different genre. In this version, our heroes have just had their asses absolutely handed to them, and have every reason to give up. But as this track starts, they're getting their motivation back, and we see them running around the dilapidated house, scavenging anything they might be able to use. One is poring over plans over a rickety desk, another has left to buy equipment or gather information, all while one stuffs his face full of food. There's always one. While these are very, very different readings, both for what is the same event in the game, and both are the result of my imagination going into overdrive while listening to them in isolation, they both have in common the idea of a renewing of strength and the stubborn willingness to do what they have to do. And the fact that these songs, while listening to them in isolation, excite and arouse my imagination like that, tells me that they are doing exactly what music should. And I'd like to finish off the sound section with the last song you'll probably hear before the game ends, to send you back to the title screen. It's called The Loop, and has vocals by Emi. E-M-E-E. If it weren't for how great the above two tracks were, this would likely be at the top for it's just fun and kind of an eccentric song. It opens with a nice acoustic guitar riff before another acoustic joins in with a melody. I lack the knowledge to explain the sound of her vocals or any techniques she's doing, but the chorus is uplifting. The song as a whole is just nice, and it ends on a weird note that I find charming, but if it's meant to mean something more, then I'm afraid it went way over my head. It's just a straight bop. As a rule, I generally listen to anything as long as it's upbeat enough to keep my emotional levels up. Rock, metal, but also pop and so on if it does the job. But each song in these soundtracks is just such a vibe that I can slap them on and just be in the moment. A state of mind that we are usually desperately trying to scramble away from at any given moment. And as there's two different versions of the soundtrack, we get variety and an hour of just good music. I have less to say about the visuals. The original pixel art is adorable and just chock full of character. Every location is remarkably distinct, and yeah, I'm going to use the word character again because I can't help it. This game has character in spades. Regrettably, I found the remastered sprites to be a letdown. They were simply too small, too squished, too condensed to have that same level of character to them. And it seemed to struggle with things like Ashina's legs. The backgrounds, though, hugely improved. One thing I was conflicted with for the backgrounds was the tile image behind Ashina's bath. I love them both too much. There's something unknowable about the original. Like, just what is that? It has a face, but what are those to the side? Arms, vines, hair? The remastered mosaic is very knowable, which gives it its own kind of horror. This time mixed with, and enhanced by, the sheer beauty of the image. So good. I'll lump the next bit in with some more audio, as they are from the same event. But first I'll cover the visuals. During the forest chapter, where Sombria gets all weird and attacks a deer, and we need to help sate her appetites by finding 5 to 7 probably inedible mushrooms. Good job she's already dead, huh? If you gather and feed them to her one at a time, you'll run out of time. This section put a chill into my spine and a mad grin on my face as Sombria begins talking to you. To you, not to Lucia. Aloud. She has a voice now. Then her little VTuber avatar pops up on screen and stares you down, talking shit and gradually falling apart until you're too late and bam! Game over. This caught me so off guard and was so genuinely creepy that it may have been what set my opinion of my big sister for good. I'm a little conflicted though. Originally the avatar is creepy, if maybe a little unpolished, and voiced by can't find the name of the credits. Hang on a tick. Yeah, no, can't find a credit for her. I know the remaster does though. Anyway, whoever it is leans a little too into anime girl for it to be unnerving.
Kate, I need your help. You're starting to get on my nerves.
Plus, English speakers speaking English in a quote-unquote cute anime voice. Well, we don't get it. It's not to our tastes. Heck, we get annoyed at cutesy voices in the original Japanese anyway. It's kind of infantilizing, and hearing it in English, which is clearly not, it doesn't work. It's gross. And the final jump scare? Well, it's kind of goofy. The remaster's avatar is definitely voiced better by Giggle Scar. And there's a credit for a Lucia VA, which we've never heard in-game. But the visual design is, well, Sombria's too booby to be scary. Plus, while I like haughty characters, it's not exactly scary, is it? I mean, that's why ghosts and such are usually hunched over or contorted, right? Not straight backed and staring at you from down their nose. Well, the art here is objectively better in a technical sense, although the jump scare image is way better here, full stop. And the scare would have been improved if there wasn't a pause as the game loaded it in. Unfortunately, this happened a few times during dramatic events, as said dramatic scene clearly needed a moment to load in. It was awkward. I guess I'll add one more thing that's relevant here. From the pixel art and the PlayStation home screen, I had a certain image of Sombri's appearance, but then I saw some of Stranga's original art and merchandise. We want a coaster with these images, but we don't need 4 of the same, so we just got that mug instead. And well, I had no idea Sombria was supposed to be so exposed. And I'm not sure how I feel about that given all she's been through. Plus, if it's all in Lucia's imagination, then what does that say about the little sister? Whatever. I actually tried to implement it into this video's 8 avatar, although I leant into the Japanese themes and went with more of a geisha's exposed shoulder design, even though my 8 character doesn't actually have shoulders. In fact, part of the design is that there is no body under all that cloth. The cloth is the body. But I tried to get it across. And maybe I could have enhanced this by making her clothes more kimono-like, but I'm not good at drawing and I was tired. Anyway, one last thing. Does Yokai Sombria have legs? Seriously, she doesn't in the official art, but clearly does so in the game, so...
Moving on from the story, you credit Shion as Lucia's voice actor, but I don't remember hearing a voice for her over my numerous playthroughs. Did you credit someone for unused lines, which is cool if confusing, or did I miss something? I have 2 voice actors in the game, although one only appears in the trailer. Shion's voice is in the game, but it's hard to find. It's a secret or an Easter egg connected to the bathroom mirror puzzle. I also remember she did a stream where she played the game using Lucia's voice, which was quite fun. Damn! I thought I'd found everything in that area. I kind of wish Stranga had told me how to find it, because, oh now I want to see it. I'm gonna have to check YouTube, and I didn't watch the trailers, so I'm gonna have to check that out too.
Hello?
That's what we get in the trailer. Okay, so it took me some searching online, found it on a Steam guide eventually, and I'm kind of embarrassed I didn't think of this myself. All I can say is I'm glad I asked Stranga, because I would never have forgotten this otherwise.
Hey, you! You called? Look, did you need anything? I'm kinda in the middle of something right here. Your screen's looking a little dirty from in here. You should clean it. Anyways, I'm off. See ya.
See ya. Don't know why I did that. I guess that counts as trivia too, but wrong section, but also right for the visuals and sound, but whatever.
I love this little game. I really hope that my narration came off as lovingly insane, not bitterly insane, because I did enjoy losing my fucking mind over my big sister. Are we really gonna do this joke again, Vivian? The visuals and music are sheer goodness. The story can be explained away, sort of, once you siphon away the fluff. And it really is a good time, even for someone like me who likes tighter... How's the best way to say this? Less dreamscape style writing.
It's kind of amusing how many videos I discovered where people have expressed my views. The Game Grumps talking about how size FFF breasts aren't scary, or Tangamushi talking about the game Remothered and perfectly expressing what I wanted to say about my big sister.
If you enjoyed the story in Remothered, great, so did I. I enjoyed the ride. I didn't really understand it, but I enjoyed it, but I'm also able to critique it. And while it may fall down in the narrative, it makes up for it in its art direction and music. And while the games may have their flaws, they also have a lot of heart. And you know what? I would rather a game with a lot of heart that maybe stumbles along the way a little bit than another flavor of the month soulless AAA title. Remothered isn't perfect, but what is?
Tangamushi is great for if you want someone who looks at horror games in a fair light. Her criticism always seems solid, fair, thorough, but she's not afraid of making a joke or being a little harsh when necessary. Check her out.
This game has and will stick with me, and I cannot wait to play the prequel. I will wait though, for my sanity. If I can indulge myself a little, and really what else is this channel if not self-indulgent? That's why we exist in the first place. To express the intrusive thoughts and to be the catharsis for Vivian. That's what 8 is. Our lines in the script are literally put into brackets because we're intruding on the script. I'd like to see a third version of this game, mixing old sprites with new level designs, a story that gives a bit more weight to the whole "it was just a dream" ending, and really do whatever you want with the music because it's just all bangers. Oh, and please, brutally murder, or better yet, just remove, entirely wipe from existence, Therapist in canon. That my next video was going to be American McGee's Alice, thanks to its similarity in story, I suppose, to My Big Sister. Plus, we always really wanted Alice to be our first video, and we even delayed making anything for 4 years as we just couldn't get it to work properly. But I need a break from the heavy storylines. I need something simple and relatively easy. I played the whole of Journey to get footage for this video, and I think I'll write something up on that sometime, but not yet.
Oops, that's already out. And it has a small Easter egg for My Big Sister in there.
I did think the first Devil May Cry might be a fun, simple game too, and I've also been craving a Prince of Persia Sands of Time playthrough, but they aren't really the break that I'm looking for. So, I'll be covering Tony Hawk's Underground next. Just watch me find out how wrong I am about this game. It would be just my luck.
And finally, as a editor's note, I've kind of been writing a solo leveling video because I watched it to see if it was as good as Freerun, and then I kind of, in part, got frustrated with all the hate aimed at it, but it's not entirely undeserved. It was just a lot of the, I hesitate to use the word criticism because that is being way too generous, but it was frustrating how people were being unfair, even though solo leveling is, let's put it kindly, undeserving of winning any award outside of animation. The storytelling is, whew. So I will probably be getting that out, but I'll probably do it in between my quote-unquote scheduled videos, which is roughly once every 2 months now. Although, if I think about it, all the hate I've been seeing is why I want to get the video out. The reason I wanted to write it was because I had more fun breaking it down and analysing it than I did actually watching it. And so it was kind of too fun not to make a script about. It basically boils down to that. So I'd expect that in like a month, and then the Tony Hawk's video in 2 months. They're both written, they just need editing really. Which I think goes to say just how long I've been working on this video. Finally, I like to have a trivia section in my videos. So is there anything interesting about the game, inspirations, or development that you'd like to bring up? All I have at the moment is that Nikuya the Butcher is just Butcher the Butcher, which isn't really worth a section to itself. I've had many requests to make a true sequel to My Big Sister. but I'm not sure it really needs one. I've thought about it, and if I come up with a story that clicks, I might just make one. Interestingly, there's a small Easter egg or sequel moment in my game, Just Ignore Them, Brea's Story, Part 1, where you meet Sombria doing a part-time job at a Chinese restaurant. Lucia is also set to appear in the remake of Just Ignore Them as an adult, but that game is still deep in development, so you'll all have to wait. I haven't played it yet, so I've made a point of avoiding the actual Easter eggs, but it appears there are quite a few for Just Ignore It in My Big Sister, including the screwdriver you use to unscrew the basement door. That raises a number of questions about the stories and how they're interlinked, because that's, well, I suppose depending on the version you're playing depends on whose screwdriver it belongs to, but we'll see about that. Also, the Noodle House in the Woods is a Studio Ghibli film reference, which I guess makes sense, but I've not actually seen that one yet. I've seen Your Neighbor Totoro, hence why I recognise the Totoro reference I have, where you put a leaf on Sombria's head. I mentioned that in the game, but I can't remember the other one I've watched, but it wasn't Spirited Away, so I wouldn't have recognised that. I haven't been able to find any other references, but I don't want to go too far into looking for Easter eggs and trivia because there might be spoilers for the other games. So the only other thing I'll say is that on the Steam guide, Stranga himself has provided a cheat code which allows you to play the game with a CRT filter over the screen. This is an absolute mess of a recording.
Well, given that I actually enjoyed this game and my tendency to get more inspiration from media I don't enjoy, I don't actually have that many ideas. But here's what I do have. 1. I've already started writing this one, and how do I make this clear? I'm not trying to one-up Stranga or talk shit or anything of the sort. We can't make a fucking game. Props to Stranga. Instead, this is more meant to expand on what I was saying earlier, about Sombria needing to be the one in the coma for the story to actually mean something. My story starts with Sombria waking up and should cover things in a way that strengthens the reality of the spiritual world, and how the events of the game helped her to grow. I hope it will clarify my thoughts, and more to the point, it gives me something to write. I'm not trying to one-up Stranga. Again, we can't make a whole fucking video game. I'm complimenting him? Editor's note. This story may not happen, as we are so fucking stuck. Maybe it's because we can't properly get into Sombria's mind. Maybe we don't know how to progress it, how to resolve the story. And regardless, what we do have is super boring. Maybe we'll upload it anyway, on the understanding that, yeah, it's not good, but it's practice writing all the same. Bad art could be considered more important than good art, because keep making bad art, eventually it'll become good, if you just keep trying. 2. I really like the potential of the spiritual world. The unaging children, the yokai, what I assume is the Red Witch power being inherited, possibly via name. But there's a lot to write, and I don't have the time or specific enough ideas to write this one. 3. Finally, what if the story did end with Sombria having to support Lucia after their mother mysteriously died? It certainly sounds like money would probably be tight, but there might be a thing developing between Sombria and Stretch, with a really cute romance that could be written as they support each other, eventually living together and pooling their income to help raise Lucia. Just not written by me. I very much doubt I could write that, especially without taking an entire novel to do it. Honestly, maybe I'll just write an excerpt where the therapist gets brutally murdered. That would be fun at the very least. I don't think I have any notes that aren't in the conclusion.
But this has been an ordeal. Not only did I have to try and figure out what the story was trying to say, but I had to put together a coherent narrative as best as I could. And then I had to write it all up. I had to narrate it to the best of my ability, because I really wanted to get across that I do love this game, and yet it does have its flaws. And because I enjoyed so much of it, I really wanted to provide good reasoning as to what I didn't like in a constructive manner, which is not only hard to do, but it can be kind of hard to deliver it properly through correct narration, I guess. And then I had to work through my anxiety to actually contact Stranga and ask for that interview, which is a new thing for me and was terrifying. While writing the story, I filled up an entire notepad on just that. This is easily my longest video yet, and absolutely my favourite. So, while I'm absolutely exhausted, I'm really happy I did this. So I hope people enjoy the video. I hope people get something from it. And for the first time, I'm actually going to ask, please comment. I'm not going to say like or subscribe. Do what you want, but I would really appreciate comments, whether it's a discussion or criticism of me, or maybe your feelings on the game itself. I would love to read that. And so,
that led me to my big sister. Fucking PC's crashed. This here is Sombria, the titular big sister, who's a filthy smoker and has some secrets. That doesn't actually matter, does it? So, yeah, the mysterious Ludwinady, there'll be a time scamp, and it's all Lucia's fault because she can't accept that Sombria Lucia hanged herself. Oh no! And it's all Lucia's fault because she... If you have criticism about my video, something you don't like, something that I could do better, let me know. Yes, that's right. I'm asking for trolls. Criticism is how creatives get better, but please be clever about it. Because if you are too obvious in your trolling, I'll just do the opposite. Be clever and trick me. Try it.